The age of fire. We are entering the age of fire. And the frustrating thing is the experts know we're entering into the age of fire. The experts know we have record amount of cosmic rays combining with record amounts of solar radiation, which normally they run opposite of one another. But now they're both at high levels. The reason the radiation is so high is due to those cosmic rays are, in fact, lighting up the solar corona. And when the news organizations, start covering the extreme UVs and the record warm oceans, all of a sudden, in the last 3-4 months, we're reading and hearing over the chatterbox about record warm oceans. Finally, somebody else is shouting the alarm instead of me. And the radiation, the ultraviolet radiation. They're starting to talk about it. So that gives you an idea. We were 4 or 5 years ahead of the news cycle, which our subscribers knew about it before anybody started even reporting about this stuff. So, but when you have extra heat, extra energy like that, the double whammy of high radiance and high cosmic rays, which are particles coming from other suns, when you have them both at record levels, you're going to have a very stressed planet. And when you have 16 and 17 radiation index on an index scale that only used to go to 10, there's an issue with the radiation. Ultraviolet is intense. It burns you. Ultraviolet B actually penetrates your skin. Ultraviolet C even deeper and starts to destroy your fascia tissue, inflaming your brainstem, causing cardiac arrhythmias, causing behavioral changes. And when you look at the fire maps from Brazil and Peru, back when the UV index was 14, 13, those are extreme numbers at 13 and 14, because 11 is supposed to be extreme, remember, on the UV index? And when you start comparing the subsequent years and you start looking at the fire maps of all these countries, you can see we have been getting worse in terms of the severity and the extensiveness of these fires. Did I say extense? Is there even a word? So it's paramount that we call to action our politicians. Do not let our country burn this year. Let Australia be your warning. Australia it's going to suffer a complete and total ecological collapse. You're going to have a Sahara Desert in Australia, and the people are still going to live there. But when I can't believe I'm watching the news and they're talking about record warm oceans. Well, they've been at record warm for the last 5 years. But now they're starting to talk about it. Why? Because other people have been making a stink about it. And it's no longer deniable. If you deny record warm oceans, then you're actually losing credibility with your public if you're a politician. But Australia is not the only one posting UV indexes of 16 and 17 on a scale that only used to go to 10. And if 11 is extreme and dangerous, come on, what the heck is 16 or 17? 16 or 17 is deadly. That's what it is. And I give kudos. You guys, you mainstream people, you're 4 or 5 years late But better late than never, and hopefully it's not too late. But when you see the UV rays at 16 and 17, why are you talking carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is actually released when you heat the earth. And the fires in Alaska, the fire in Siberia, I mean, these places never used to burn. Why? Because they remained very moist and cool even in the summertime. But now they too have apocalyptic fires. So why all the focus on carbon dioxide? Here, look at this. Let me show you something. I'm going to show you some carbon measurements. This is methane, but carbon dioxide follows the same patterns. Look how regular those spikes are. Look at those valleys and peaks. I mean, there's a few dots that are up at the top of the page there, but generally your main peaks and valleys are very consistent, symmetrical, and predictable. Very regular, very symmetrical, very harmonic, very predictable. So what's going on? What causes such uniformity in terms of peaks and valleys? And I'll tell you what it is. It's summer and winter. In the summertime, the carbon releases. In the wintertime, when the water gets cooler, the carbon gets trapped. So your carbon emissions go down. Do you think a carbon tax is going to change the temperature of your ocean? Do you think it's going to keep this from happening? But what this does is prove to you, it proves that a hot ocean releases carbon and that a cold ocean traps carbon. That's what it proves. So when the oceans are releasing so much more carbon dioxide than you could ever produce in 30 years by mankind, and it's releasing that much in a year, really, people, the whole carbon dioxide narrative is a fraud. And then we have cosmic rays peaking at the same time we have irradiance peaking. Now wait a minute. Those ran opposite of one another. We've shown you over and over again. Solar minimum brings in more cosmic rays. Solar maximum pushes out those cosmic rays. Solar maximum, we have higher irradiance. But we're in a solar minimum. And the grand solar minimum at that. And the sun is putting out more cosmic rays, more radiation than any solar minimum we've ever known. It's putting out solar maximum like numbers of irradiance. At the same time, cosmic rays are at a peak. Record ever, the highest. At this point, that background noise you hear, that's actually a flame on a fire that's keeping the cabin warm. So I'm sorry about the background noise, but it's pretty cold up here, even though we're having global warming. There's still cold weather everywhere. There's lots of cold weather to go around, and there will be as long as we have ice. As long as the refrigerator is running, you'll still be able to keep some things cool, even though the thermostat is gradually getting higher. But what's going to happen in the United States is going to mimic what happens in Australia. We cover Australia and we talk about Australia so much because, one, they have worse summers than we do. Number two, they could kind of to give you a precursor, an idea of what to expect in the northern hemisphere. You look at how their summer is, and you're like, oh my. And vice versa. Well, if we have a miserable summer, we were saying, hey, watch out, Australia, you're next. The thing is it's going to happen in the northern hemisphere. And aren't you sick of the fires yet? Aren't you sick and tired of fires, especially the ones that are so fast-paced and so incredibly hot that they just run through entire towns and trap people in their own homes from a forest fire. Now, that's incredible for it to be happening in December, and it's incredible when it happens in the summer. But gosh, in a non-fire season fire that's apocalyptic is a little hard to fathom. But it's going to be happening in the north. And the politicians and the people in higher echelons of power and even the scientists know about the 17 index UV radiation. They know about it. The guy on the BBC who's talking, finally, guys, they're talking about record warm oceans on the news. Are you kidding me? Finally. And all my subs are like, yeah, finally. You know, why are we the only ones who have to talk about it? Now the news is talking about it and validating all you guys out there who follow this channel. The reason I'm laughing is because you have to laugh at some of this stuff, or it'll tear you down. But it's going to be happening in the Northern Hemisphere, and the powers that be know it's going to happen. They know it's coming. Trump knows they're spraying in the air the mineral oxides. He knows exactly why. It's to deflect record high solar radiation. Record high. Along with what? Record high cosmic rays. At the same time, that's a double whammy. So what they need to do is hurry up, get some jets in every single state, get 7, 8, or 9 filled with water on the tarmac, ready to go, DEFCON 3. And as soon as there's smoke, it's DEFCON 4, and those pilots are in the air. And as soon as a fire is detected, and you take, instead of having 2 slurry tankers per wildfire and a couple helicopters, I mean, good Lord, they are so under-mechanicalized to put out fires. I mean, you should have fleets of jets that can do high-altitude drops. You should be able to do that. It's crazy. And it can be done. It can. If you can put enough jets in the air to complete a wide out over an entire state, you can have enough jets in the air with high altitude water drops to put out a fire the same day it starts. It can be done. And if it's not done, then we know that it's neglect. And it's criminal neglect. I hate using that word, but it's criminal neglect. And, and those of you, many of us go right into denial when something happens with the people we vote for in office. Many of us will defend our votes till the day we die. And I call it voter denial. Some people call it cognitive dissonance. But that action be taken now. And it's important that you understand, if you are in love with your president right now, and which I wouldn't blame you, he's done some great things. But if you hated him, I don't blame you either, because he does some nutty stuff in his personal life. But listen, this is important. You cannot let the United States go into a total and complete ecological collapse. You cannot allow that to happen. And it can happen. You know that the odds of it happening are as good as any other odds of something that can ruin our safety, because you heard how concerned everybody is about our safety, keeping America safe. Well, America's going to burn this summer. because it burns in the winter. So it's going to burn this summer. And Australia they have fires every year, but nothing like this, millions of acres. Usually fires, we talk about tens of thousands of acres. So if they don't have tankers, 10, 11, 12 in every state on the tarmac, filled with water, ready to go, if they don't get that done, it's complete and total neglect. Your safety really doesn't matter. And it's not like they're stupid. It's not like, we can't predict apocalyptic fires. No, you can predict apocalyptic fires. UV index 17, can I say anything more? So when you just remember this, when you hear somebody talking about carbon dioxide and warming, they're totally ignoring that the UV index is causing a release of carbon dioxide out of the water in the ocean. And that they're totally distracting you from that number, UV index 17. Anybody who talks carbon dioxide and is selling a carbon dioxide argument will not talk about UV index 17. They will not. Now, I want to ask you, those are people who are supposed to be advising us, and we're supposed to be listening to them, and that our safety is what they're worried about. If they hide and ignore UV index 17 and a scale that only went to 10, you tell me, should that person go to jail or not? You tell me. So forget it, it's Trump. Knows we're going to burn, can by executive order get all of these planes out of the skies, retrofit them or wash them out, get them ready for water, have them on the tarmacs this summer, ready to go. The moral equivalent of war, that should be the least of their actions. And if it doesn't happen, if those planes aren't sitting on tarmacs for high altitude water drops, ready to go in every single state that's at risk for forest fires, if that does not happen, then the people in charge, the people that know about UV 17, people know about record warm oceans, people who are following what's going on in Australia right now, a complete and total ecological collapse due to fire. If they do not act, it's intentional. It's not stupidity. It's not like, we can't predict Mother Nature. It has nothing to do with that. Because if I just now got through saying what can be done, then you can bet, know it can be done too. Be prepared, not scared.